And at number 10, fake relationships. I think at this point it's clear that most Hollywood relationships are faked for PR. Occasionally these fake relationships actually turn into real love, but most of the time these fake couples split as soon as the movie comes out, making it painfully obvious. One of the most obvious cases of this was the on and off again relationship between Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart during the Twilight days. These two would always be in a relationship when their newest movies were dropping, but then a few weeks after the release, they would break up. Since they split almost immediately after the final Breaking Dawn movie was released, it's clear that it was all a lie. Also, the pair looked so uncomfortable when they were together, and now that we see what they look like in a happy relationship, it's clear that they weren't in one. And at number 9, paid paparazzi. If you've ever wondered why some celebrities look amazing in paparazzi photos while others don't, it's because a lot of celebrities hire their own paparazzi to make sure they never look bad in a photo. The most recent celebrity to get called out for using this tactic was Addison Rae. While Addison was out in New York, she happened to get a ton of great photos of herself out and about in the city, and Page Six called her out for tipping off the paparazzi about her location so she can get a ton of good pictures. Page Six called it, quote, "a move straight out of the introductory course at the Kardashian Institute of Advanced Fame Grasp." Apparently Addison specifically wanted good photos of her outfits so that she could become known for her style. This move has long been used by the Kardashians back when they were up and coming, and now it seems that Addison is taking tips from her new friends. And at number 8, fake bodies. It's no secret that almost everyone in Hollywood has had some work done. Usually it's minor things like Botox and fillers to maintain youthfulness, but some celebrities went through major changes before making it big, and these cosmetic procedures were the reason that it all happened. Apparently it's an open secret that celebrities will change their bodies to adapt to the times to maintain marketability. But the worst part is that most celebrities don't own up to these big changes, so fans will think these people are effortlessly perfect, and it starts to impact the everyday person's self-esteem. One of the most common procedures seems to be a nose job, and most celebrities that are deemed au naturel have had it done. Blake Lively, Scarlett Johansson, and Jennifer Aniston are just some of the celebrities that fans are convinced had nose jobs, but they will never admit it to fans who think it's all elite genetics. And at number 7, award show corruption. Many fans assume that Oscars and Grammys are given to those who truly deserve it, but once you pull back the curtain, that's really not how it works. And an open secret is that anyone who wants to win one of these awards must campaign for it and basically bribe the judges. This can be in the form of actual money or things like vacations and expensive gifts. Back in 1981, actress Pia Zendora won the Best Newcomer award for her role in the movie Butterfly. It was a shock to everyone until it was exposed that her husband paid off the voting members to ensure that she won, and over time the practice did not get better. In 2011, publicist Michael Russell sued the Hollywood Foreign Press Association for firing him. He was trying to expose the corruption with the award show, and they didn't like that. The parties settled the dispute out of court. And at number 6, cheating. Movies often take months to film. That's long, grueling hours away from family and friends, stuck with the small same group of people. Because of how it all works, movie sets are breeding grounds for extramarital affairs, especially if you're spending a lot of time with your love interest in the movie that you're hugging and kissing all day on set. There are truly too many examples to name, but there's a solid chance that one of your favorite actors cheated on their spouse during the filming of a hit movie. The most famous are Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt in Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and Kristen Stewart and director Rupert Sanders during the filming of their project. And obviously this happens a lot more than it's reported. Halfway number 5, fake names. The vast majority of Hollywood A-listers do not use their real names, instead they concocted a stage name. This is done for a variety of reasons. Sometimes just because their old name isn't as flashy, but other times the reasons are pretty dark. For some examples of celebrities with fake names, Martin Sheen's real name is Raymond Antonio Gerard Estevez, Jamie Foxx's name is Eric Marlon Bishop, and Marilyn Monroe's real name was Norma Jean Mortensen. Then other times a name change can be used to hide nepotism. Like for instance, Nicolas Cage's real name is Nicholas Coppola, and he's the nephew of Francis Ford Coppola, a famous Hollywood director. This familial connection landed Nick Cage his first role in the movie Peggy Sue Got Married. Other times a name change can be to hide racism. Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. actor Chloe Bennett, real name Chloe Wang, said, quote, "Hollywood is racist and wouldn't cast me with the last name that made them uncomfortable." And at number 4, stuntmen regularly lose their lives. Stuntmen are a very common thing on movie sets because A-list actors aren't able to do the stunts that we see in a lot of action movies. But fans might not know what a dangerous job that it is. is, and stuntmen regularly get critically injured or even lose their lives. And for how vital their role is to these movies, they are not paid fairly. The average stunt person pulls in about $250K a year, which sounds great, but is nothing compared to the about $20 million that the movie stars are making. Big name stars are obviously the ones that sell the tickets, but they're not the ones who put their lives on the line. During the filming of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1, Daniel Radcliffe's stunt double David Holmes got hit by a staged explosion, and he was so seriously injured by the fragments that he suffered a neck break that left him fully paralyzed. Then on the set of Deadpool 2, a stuntman lost their life during a car crash scene. And at number 3, substance misuse. Following the release of the biopic Judy, we got to see the horrible practices the movie execs would use to get their talent to do what they wanted, specifically using illicit substances to wake the actors up and keep them on set working for very long hours. According to a 1982 New York Times article, use of these substances became so common that movie insurers would put clauses in their contracts to cut losses from these sorts of incidents, because several deaths and injuries on set stem from the use of these substances. In her 2013 memoir, Debbie Reynolds, the female lead for the 1952 musical Singing in the Rain, recalled that when her grueling schedule started to take a toll on her health, a studio executive told her to quote, take vitamin shots from his doctor. Then Judy Garland revealed her mother would give her quote, pep pills to ensure she had enough energy to film all day. Because of the toll these substances took on her health, Judy unfortunately passed away at the age of 47 because of an OD from these substances. And at number 2, inappropriate behavior runs rampant. So I'm gonna have to dance around the subject a bit for this one, but the things that have been exposed during the Me Too and Time's Up era are not new and have been happening for decades. Harvey Weinstein wasn't the first and only power player in Hollywood to use his power to get women to do what he wanted. And this all goes back to the idea of the quote casting couch, where you are expected to do sexual favors to these executives in exchange for a role. And there are many examples of this behavior taking place in Hollywood. Even worse, this behavior can also happen against One study even found that 94% of women employed in the American film industry have experienced sexual harassment or worse. This is a staggering number that should make everyone push for change. And finally, number 1, discrimination problem. The problem of diversity in Hollywood is something that's being brought up more and more over the years, and when we look at some of the stats, it's pretty wild. Only one woman has ever won the Oscar for Best Director, and that was Kathryn Bigelow for the 2008 movie The Hurt Locker. Also, only one African American has ever won the Oscar for Best Original Screenplay in the history of the Academy. That was Jordan Peele in 2018 for Get Out. But the problem is not only in the cast and crew of the movies, it's the higher up of the business in general. A 2016 Washington Post investigation reported that 96% of Hollywood's decision makers were white and 87% of them were male. Clearly a large gap between those demographics and what we see in society today. A study of 100 movies released in 2016 also showed that about 70% of speaking roles in that year's top 100 films were white, leaving 30% to account for Black, Asian, and Hispanic people. Another shocking stat was that just 31% of speaking characters were female. So starting off at number 10, we have Kris Jenner. Kris Jenner revealed one of her most regretful secrets in her memoir, Kris Jenner and All Things Kardashian. In the book, she gave details on her affair with Todd Waterman that happened while she was still married to Rob Kardashian. She wrote in her memoir, quote, "We had sex everywhere, all the time. Out of control, crazy, dangerous, wild sex." She admitted to doing it in cars, on the tennis court, in the pool house, and even the garage. Jenner opened up in interviews later that she thinks it was her age that caused her to make the mistake. Since she met Rob at the age of 18, then married him at 22, she was getting bored of their marriage after 10 years of being together. And when she was introduced to Todd, who was 10 years younger than her, she was smitten. Adding that people always think the grass is greener, but she deeply regrets her cheating. And at number 9, Drew Barrymore. Drew Barrymore has been opening up about her horrible childhood and all the terrible things she did when she was just a preteen. In her book, she revealed that she got into drugs when she was just 10 years old. Writing, quote, "When I was 10 and a half, I was sitting in the backseat of a car driven by a friend's mother. She started smoking pot. I wanted to try it for a long time, but I was afraid if I asked, she'd say, 'No way, Drew, you're too young.' However, she offered me some, and I said, 'Sure, I'll try it.' I was shocked. But she had that look to say, 'Isn't it cute, a little girl getting stoned?'" And she also just revealed on an episode of her show with Paris Hilton that she went to behavioral schools when she was younger because she was so out of control, and she was locked in solitary many times. And at number 8, Woody Harrelson. Actor Woody Harrelson has been part of the film industry for decades now, and he's a true Hollywood legend. But while you might never expect him to have some familial skeletons in the closet, he does, and his father was actually a notorious hitman. And he actually committed the first assassination of a judge in the 20th century. But that was not his only one. He also killed a carpet salesman for $1,500 after a deal fell through. Apparently, Harrelson found out about his father's occupation when he was 12 years old. Charles Harrelson passed away in prison in 2009. And at number 7, Rihanna. Rihanna is one of the most successful female musicians of all time, but she's another star with some family issues that she tried to keep a secret. Apparently one day out of the blue, Rihanna discovered that her father, Ronald Fenty, had another secret family. And that meant that Rihanna had 2 sisters and 1 brother that she never knew existed, with all of the 3 siblings having different mothers. Her father was also addicted to alcohol, drugs, and sex. But after some time, it seems that Rihanna has been the bigger person, and they've been able to repair their relationship. And at number 6, Kathy Griffin. Kathy Griffin is a woman known for making everyone around her laugh. But like with a lot of comedians, Kathy used humor to cope with a lot of the bad she was dealt when she was younger. In her autobiography, My Life on the D-List, she speaks about the trauma she endured because of her brother, Kenny. She wrote that he was inappropriate with her very often, and that led her to have a lot of internal issues. She also claims that when she was around him, she felt a dark and even violent presence. She even spoke further in the book about some things that she witnessed in adulthood, saying that she once saw him hurting his own wife. He eventually went to prison and then ended up passing away, but the bad memories still live with her. Halfway number 5, Mariah Carey. It was revealed that Mariah Carey was suffering from bipolar disorder, but the unfortunate part is that it wasn't Mariah herself that shared it with the world, but rather her sister. Because of her sister's comments, Mariah opened up about her sister and the issues that she has that affects Mariah as well. Mariah's sister Allison claimed that Mariah had been struggling with the disorder for years, but the relationship between the sisters is more than a little strange, and they allegedly hadn't spoken since 1994 at the time. Allison has been arrested multiple times for illegal activities, and she once told undercover cops that she could, quote, give them a sweet, sweet fantasy. Allison also calls out Mariah for not helping her with her medication, since she deals with her own issues and is in need of money to pay for the medication. Because of this, Allison has tried to extort her sister multiple times for money, which I'm sure is incredibly exhausting for Mariah. And at number 4, Lori Loughlin. This is one I'm sure you know of, but some big names in Hollywood were exposed big time when Operation Varsity Blues found that Lori Loughlin and Felicity Huffman had bribed their child's way into prestigious universities. Loughlin and her husband, fashion guru Massimo Giannulli, were accused of paying $500,000 to get their daughters Olivia J. Giannulli and Bella Giannulli into USC on the crew team, when, as I'm sure that you already know, they never even played the sport. In light of everything, the family lost tons of sponsorship deals, and Loughlin's contract with Hallmark came to an abrupt end. And in the end, Lori was sentenced to 2 months in prison for her crimes. And now the family's reputation will probably never be the same. And at number 3, Demi Moore. Demi Moore spilled everything about her marriage to Ashton Kutcher in her 2019 memoir, Inside Out. And there are things in the book that I'm sure she was reluctant to bring to light again. In the book, she talks about the tumultuous 8-year marriage to Ashton Kutcher, giving details on the fact that they had a threesome because Ashton essentially begged for it. After it happened, Moore was regretful about the situation, but it seemed that Ashton was not, and only made him more distant in the marriage. Writing in her book, quote, because we'd brought in a third party into our relationship, Ashton said that blurred the lines and to some extent justified what he'd done, speaking about the fact that it led to him cheating down the line. But the marriage was over after he admitted to cheating on her with a 21-year-old woman in 2011, adding in an interview that the divorce is the reason she had a relapse with her alcohol addiction. Saying in the Red Table Talk interview, quote, the addiction was in the codependency. My addiction to Ashton was probably almost more devastating than alcohol because it took me seriously away emotionally. And because she had spilled all of these secrets, she was asked why she decided to talk about all this now, with her responding, quote, I think my desire was to really get to a place where I'm okay to really be seen. Adding, quote, when there isn't anything to protect, that's a great spot. And at number 2, Allison Mack. The case of Smallville actor Allison Mack was one of the most shocking and disturbing in recent years. On April 20th of 2018, the actor was arrested in Brooklyn on charges of sex trafficking, along with other similar crimes. Apparently, she was heavily involved in a bad group of people called NXIVM, and apparently she was used to recruit women into the group. And then these victims were later exploited by the group in numerous ways. After a lengthy trial, Mack pled guilty to the charges. However, it's been over a year since she was sentenced, and no time has actually been given. So she's been on house arrest in her parents' house this whole time. And at number 1, Meghan Markle. Since Meghan Markle became one of the most famous people on earth basically overnight, a lot has been exposed about her, a lot that I'm sure she wishes didn't. One thing is that her sister said she, quote, is a social climber with a soft spot for gingers. Okay. But one of the biggest secrets about Meghan that people are pretty convinced is true is that she used to author a shady blog about the industry. The blog was called, quote, The Working Actress. And to give you an idea of some of the stuff she wrote about, the blog said it was documenting the ups and downs of a hustling young actress in the cutthroat world of Hollywood. In February 2018, the Daily Mail reported that impeccable sources from California confirmed that Meghan Markle wrote the blog, with an actor named Lance Carter telling Daily Mail, quote, yeah, it was definitely Meghan who wrote it. Then in Andrew Morton's biography, Meghan a Hollywood Princess, the magazine included the working actress in a list of the royals' former jobs. So clearly her more public blog, The Tig, wasn't all she was writing. Alright everyone, that's all for the video today. Let me know what you're thinking about it down below. And were there any that I missed that could be in a part 2? But before I go, I'm gonna shout out some comments from my video on celebs who spent time in jail.
In at number 10, Janet Jackson. It's very rare that a celebrity in Hollywood is able to keep their relationship, or marriage for that matter, under the radar. However, Janet Jackson has been able to keep her multiple marriages and subsequent divorces all a secret from the tabloids. First, she was married to singer-songwriter Renee Elizondo in 1991, and that union remained under wraps until she filed for divorce in 2000. She then managed to keep her next marriage to billionaire Wissam Almana in 2012 a secret as well. This marriage actually really ended up changing Janet. She moved to London and abandoned her look to opt for a more conservative garb in the line with Almana's Muslim religion. The couple wed 2 years after they met, and much to everyone's surprise, the then 50-year-old Janet announced that she was pregnant with son Issa, who was born in January of this year. To even greater surprise, Janet then announced her separation from Almana 4 months later. In at number 9, Kathy Griffin. Kathy Griffin is typically all about the laugh, so it's really hard to believe her when she's talking about her late brother, a convicted pedophile. The public first learned about her older brother Kenny in her best-selling autobiography My Life on the D-List, and in the book Kathy spoke about growing up with her brother and how she felt a very violent energy whenever he was around. She even admitted to witnessing him beating up his own wife. What's just as disturbing was when Kathy explained how he was sexually inappropriate with her from the time that she was just a little girl. Ultimately, this shaped the way that she perceived the world and herself as she grew up. Kenny Griffin ended up going to prison and eventually passed away. In at number 8, Rose McGowan. Ever since the beginning of the Time's Up and Me Too movement, actress Rose McGowan has been an outspoken force for change. As a result, she's been very open about her own personal secrets involving mental illness and sexual abuse. Growing up, her life was plagued with pain because her parents belonged to a cult called the Children of God. According to Rose, the members believed in free love, and so she was raised in a commune where mistreating women was just normalized. She even cited that men in the cult would regularly mistreat women and force them to act as servants. In at number 7, Holly Madison. Having frequently visited the Playboy Mansion when she was a 20-year-old college student in Los Angeles, the aspiring actress decided to move into the house a year later in 2001. The Oregon native, who was familiar with Playboy and had been a fan, soon became Hugh Hefner's lead girlfriend, and the two appeared to fall madly in love. Over the course of their 7 years together, their untraditional relationship was followed on the E! Channel series called The Girls Next Door. Holly acted as the loyal wife figure alongside co-stars and fellow girlfriends Kendra and Bridget. However, in a bizarre series of events, Holly left the mansion claiming that Hugh had refused to marry her. That being said, this is exactly how Hef wanted things to appear to the general public. In her memoir titled Down the Rabbit Hole, she spoke openly about the relationship and revealed some deep-rooted secrets that Hugh never wanted us to know. Apparently, he knew that she was unhappy and just ignored her. Upon reflecting on it, she said that even though she gave 7 years of her life, the man could barely have a conversation with her. In at number 6, Melissa Joan Hart. Melissa Joan Hart may be a happily married mother of 3, but during her time as Sabrina the Teenage Witch, she partied like every other Hollywood star. In the 1990s, she appeared to be this squeaky clean actor, but that was just an image put forth by executives. In her tell-all book called Melissa Explains It All, she speaks very openly about all the secret stories that she had to keep under wraps while acting in Hollywood. In one portion of the book, she says that she experimented with weed, ecstasy, mushrooms, and mescaline for about a year and a half. Looks like her broomstick wasn't the only thing that was getting her high. Am I right? Up top. No? Okay. On top of that, she spilled crazy details about making out with a woman in a limo and then heading to a Maxim photo shoot while still high, then revealing that it was her 3rd or 4th time on ecstasy for this photo shoot. Although all this bad behavior, she says, is attributed to the bad crowd that she was hanging around with. I think she claimed also that Paris Hilton once offered her cocaine at a party, but obviously she denied. In at number 5, Daniel Radcliffe. Where does the time go? It feels like only yesterday that we were watching the adventures of Harry, Ron, and Hermione. Although because we were so engulfed in following following Daniel Radcliffe bring this character to life we failed to notice when he grew up. Not only that, but his confession that he had a drinking problem was sadly something that no one wanted to hear about. Thankfully, he beat this in 2010, but the actor himself has revealed that he would show up to the set of Harry Potter still intoxicated from the night before. Daniel said that there were times during his teen years where he felt like he was being watched, and while admitting that most of that may have been in his own head, he still didn't know how to deal with it. During an interview with Off Camera, he said, "In my case, the quickest way to forget about the fact that you're being watched is to get very drunk." In an interview for The Guardian, he said that he turned to alcohol to cope with the pressure of fame and potential failure. And as I mentioned, he has been sober since 2010, but said that his friends played a big role in his recovery. Although he did reveal some pretty crazy stuff about being intoxicated while filming Harry Potter. Daniel said, "I can honestly say I never drank at work on Harry Potter. I went into work still drunk, but I never drank at work. I can point to many scenes where I'm just gone, dead behind the eyes." That really changes that movie series for me. In at number 4, Jackie Chan. There are very few actors in the world that have forsaken their health and safety like Jackie Chan just in order to do their own stunts. As a master of the martial arts, he's put his skills to the test both physically and comedically. Over the course of his illustrious career, he has injured himself countless times but somehow remains unfazed. It's most likely because Jackie grew up in a family of risk takers. His mother, Li Chan, was a drug dealer, and his father actually was a secret agent for the Nationalist Guard. His father ended up fleeing to Hong Kong after Mao took power in 1949, and his mother was forced to abandon her first 2 children due to extreme poverty. Jackie Chan's parents actually met in the most bizarre way possible, a reason for meeting that Jackie would keep quiet for many years. Li and Charles Chan met when he busted her for drug possession. He ended up taking pity on her and then just letting her go. I mean, what an origin story for this Hollywood superstar. In at number 3, Richard Pryor. More often than not, comedians have very tragic backstories, and that can certainly be said for the legendary comedian Richard Pryor. The actor and comic struggled with addictions throughout his life. He was married 7 times and even lit himself on fire once. However, his upbringing was even more of a personal struggle. Richard Pryor's mother, Gertrude, was a prostitute who worked out of his grandmother Marie's brothel. When Gertrude abandoned her son when he was only 10 years old, he was left in the hands of his abusive grandmother. Pryor's paternal side also didn't do him any favors. His father, Leroy, was a hustler and a boxer, yet despite his own demons and secrets, Pryor was able to turn his pain into comedy. In at number 2, 50 Cent. A lot of rappers talk about living a gangster lifestyle, but some of them actually do it. 50 Cent might seem egotistical and talk a big game, but the rapper has had a very tough childhood. The rapper, whose real name is Curtis Jackson, was born in Queens, New York, and his mother, Sabrina, was just 15 years old when she gave birth to him. Sabrina ended up turning to drug dealing to feed her son and became one of the most notorious drug dealers in the area. Unfortunately, she was killed in an unexplained fire when Jackson was only 8 years old. Still, he would go on to follow in her footsteps with drug dealing and was even shot 9 times in May of 2000. At the age of 19, an undercover police officer had arrested Jackson for selling 4 vials of cocaine, and then his home was raided 3 weeks later. He was then sentenced to 3 to 9 years, and he went to a boot camp instead to get his GED, but at this time he was already rapping and took on the name 50 Cent, which actually was an original moniker of a Brooklyn crook from the 1980s. Bunch of secrets in there for you that you could read on an autobiography page. Last but certainly not least, our number 1 spot, Keith Richards. Nobody who started their career in the music business in the 1960s, and I mean nobody, has remained untouched by the glorious days of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. This is especially valid for the musicians of the legendary rock bands, most of whom have admitted to having consumed all kinds of substances in their time. But none of those are as bizarre as the one that Keith Richards of the Rolling Stones is said to have sampled. In 2007, a magazine revealed that the 72-year-old guitarist once mixed his father's ashes with cocaine and then snorted him. The veteran of drug marathons was convinced that his father wouldn't have objected at all, and added that he went down pretty well. Many years later, Richards realized that being still alive after decades of drug and alcohol abuse was just pure luck. He also advised that others not follow in his footsteps and definitely abstain from snorting their parents. In at number 10, Leighton Meester. You'd never be able to tell by how she carries herself today, but this polished celebrity was actually born in a Texas prison while her mother was serving time for drug smuggling. Though her mother was allowed to spend 12 weeks in a halfway house with newborn Leighton, she was soon sent back to jail. Meester ended up living with her grandmother in Florida until her mother was released. At 10, her family moved to New York so that she could begin a career in modeling, only to then pack up again 4 years later and head to Los Angeles. Once in Hollywood, she began auditioning for various roles while taking acting classes, but she found it difficult to relate to kids her age because of her unstable upbringing, an upbringing that she kept hidden for a very long time. Her breakout acting role was when she portrayed Blair Waldorf on Gossip Girl, a character whose mother was the owner of a fashion empire, which, as you can imagine, imagine was a stark contrast from her actual childhood. Today, though, she was worth an estimated $16 million. In at number 9, Selena Gomez. In typical rumor mill fashion, when singer Selena Gomez decided to cancel part of her world tour in 2013, the gossip magazines did all kinds of speculating as to why. They said she was battling a drug and alcohol addiction and listed a plethora of other unconfirmed conspiracies. The real reason that these types of stories kind of bubble up is because of how secretive celebrities are. Although, can we blame them? I'm sure there are some parts of their life that they just want to keep quiet. And it turns out Gomez had been hiding a secret from the world, but it had nothing to do with indulging in addictions. Later on, Selena revealed to Billboard that she had to undergo chemotherapy to treat lupus, a chronic autoimmune disease. She mainly wanted to wait for the right time to talk about it, and when she did, she didn't want to be loud about the whole thing. Selena just wanted to wait so that she could properly use her platform to help spread awareness. In at number 8, Prince. Prince has always been a wild and eccentric character. I mean, in 1993, he literally changed his name to a symbol. If that's not the definition of an enigma, I don't know what is. Although this brilliant musician was hiding a big secret from the world. For his entire life, Prince had been coping with epilepsy, which is a serious medical condition. Although in 2009, he revealed this secret during an interview with PBS. In the interview, Prince told host Tavis Smiley, "I'd never spoken about this before, but I was born epileptic. I used to have seizures when I was young. My mother and father didn't know what to do or how to handle it, but they did the best they could with what little they had." Although Prince said that after a while he was able to keep his condition largely under control. He also noted though that this control over his epilepsy came by way of an angel that spoke to him. In at number 7, Katie Holmes. Just 5 days before Tom Cruise celebrated his 50th birthday, his wife of 5 years, Katie Holmes, filed for divorce in New York. The world was completely shocked by this secret being unearthed. The couple had been spotted together on the set of Oblivion in Iceland just days before, and they were strolling along like nothing was going on. Everything's fine. Don't look at us. Apparently, Holmes orchestrated her escape, if you will, from Cruise very carefully. She set up secret meetings with lawyers and prepared to battle for sole custody of their daughter, Shuri. Now, although the details leading up to this was kept secret, if you were watching the tabloids, one could assume that she was using them to shift the public's perspective. Katie Holmes used the sympathies of the tabloids to convince people that she was just this kind of passive wife of Tom Cruise was a maniac, which is believable, right? The weirdest part was that right after her divorce, she had all of these events set up where there would be people there to photograph her. Normally, following a divorce, you would think that you'd, take some time to yourself, take some time off from work maybe, but nope, she just went right to the cover of the August issue of Elle magazine. In at number 6, Caitlyn Jenner. Back in 1971, Jenner participated in their first decathlon, and by 1972, Jenner was competing in the decathlon at the Munich Olympics. At those Olympics, they finished 10th overall in the event, and in 1976, Jenner went on to win the gold in the decathlon at the Montreal Olympics and was declared by the media to be the world's greatest athlete. Jenner was able to accomplish all of this while living with a deep personal secret that wouldn't be shared with the public for, another 40 years? In 2014, Jenner announced that they were divorcing from longtime wife Kris Jenner, and just a year later, Jenner shocked the world when they revealed that they had undergone gender reassignment surgery. At the age of 65, Caitlyn Jenner introduced herself to the world, and by 2015, ESPN had awarded Jenner the Arthur Ashe Courage Award, and to this day, Caitlyn is one of the most prominent public figures to come out as transgender. In at number 5, Lance Armstrong. In 2012, champion cyclist Lance Armstrong denied that he ever relied on performance-enhancing drugs. He referred to the doping allegations against him as outlandish and heinous. However, when the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency revealed compelling evidence, the cyclist's house of lies began to crumble. The agency released about 1,000 pages of evidence in doping allegations against Armstrong and his teammates. This led to him being stripped of 7 Tour de France titles and bronze Olympic medal, plus his secret forced him to step down as chairman of the Livestrong Foundation. Armstrong would later give a detailed account of his doping to Oprah Winfrey in 2013.
I view this situation as one big lie that I repeated a lot of times.
In at number 4, Arnold Schwarzenegger. This secret that Arnold kept ended up being the bombshell that destroyed his marriage. Just 5 days after Arnold's then wife Maria Shriver gave birth to their 4th son in 1997, the couple's housekeeper, Mildred Patricia Baina, also gave birth to a son by the same action star. He kept this child of his a secret until he completed 2 terms as California's governor in 2011. Then he finally confessed his infidelity to Shriver and later the public. All it took was the media identifying the mystery baby mama, and thus the celebrity scandal had been completed. There have always been celebrities that kept their kids out of the public eye, but nothing in terms of what Arnold was able to pull off by keeping this all a secret for so long. Imagine seeing that kid and be like, this kid looks like Arnold's son. Is that Arnold's son? In at number 3, Charlie Sheen. No one has really been attacked in the press like Charlie Sheen has. Not saying he hasn't earned some of his controversies, but let's just say that there are some very shady people in this world. The notorious actor appeared on NBC's Today Show in 2015 to announce that he was HIV positive. Charlie had been diagnosed with HIV 4 years prior and finally revealed his secret after several people actually tried to blackmail him. Allegedly, there were some people threatening to reveal this secret unless he gave them $10 million.
I'm here to admit that I am in fact HIV positive. And I have to put a stop to this onslaught.
If the timeline is 4 years from this interview, then his diagnosis would have come right as this whole controversy with the show 2.5 Men started. You know, the one where he said in a bunch of interviews that he had tiger blood and Adonis DNA. Like, it's no wonder with that much press on him already that he didn't want to also reveal what could even be perceived as a weakness to his health. In at number 2, Drake. This one was a huge reveal because for so long people were just simply speculating on whether or not Drake was dating someone. So when Pusha T released a track with the line directed at Drake that said, "You are hiding a child, let that boy come home, Adonis is your son," everyone that was watching that feud had this jaw-dropping moment when Drake finally revealed his secret son named Adonis. How did Pusha T know this? Drake would later record a song called Emotionless that explained why he had kept his son hidden from the public. He just didn't want to expose his son to the world that would have had their eyes on his every move. And it's understandable, but I believe it baffled people because it wasn't like he was like happily married to someone. He appeared to just be this rolling stone that was always rumored to be romantically involved with one celebrity or another. Last but certainly not least, on our number 1 spot, Justin Timberlake and Jessica Biel. Like many celebrities on this list, JT and JB have had an awful time trying to keep their personal lives out of the public eye. One thing that has certainly helped keep a lot of secrets is, well, this pandemic. I mean, if the paparazzi can't come within 6 feet of you and everyone's on lockdown in their homes, the tabloids must be just suffering right now. Although the Daily Mail still found a way to unearth some celebrity secrets when they revealed that Jessica had secretly given birth to a baby boy. The family are thought to be in Big Sky, Montana, where they have been spending time amid the coronavirus pandemic, and both of them have neglected to share any details whatsoever about the pregnancy, so I guess we'll have to check the Daily Mail if you want info on that celebrity secret.
Number 10, Tom Hiddleston and Taylor Swift. If you've ever dated Taylor Swift, then there's a very good chance she's written a song about you. Swift has been basing her lyrical masterpieces around past relationships for a majority of her career. Splitting up with someone is never easy, but whenever this happens to Taylor, it gives her a chance to pump out another top charting track that is sure to keep us dancing the night away. This was unfortunate for Tom Hiddleston though, best known for his role as Loki in the Marvel Universe, briefly dating the singer in 2016, even briefly being dubbed Hiddle Swift by fans. That's so cute. The couple was together for a grand total of 3 months, but during that time were very public about their activities, almost trying to like sell us on the idea that they were just so happy together. The timing of this was just a little too suspicious, as Hiddleston had just begun production on Thor Ragnarok, and Swift was working on her then unreleased album Reputation. The two seemed to be using the relationship's strong media attention to their advantage, with past album sales growing up to the point of Reputation's release for Swift, and buzz surrounding Ragnarok was in full swing till its premiere the following year, eventually becoming one of the highest grossing Marvel movies of all time. Yeah, sus guys. Number 9, Jennifer Lopez and Drake. It all started back in 2013 when Jennifer Lopez made a jaw-dropping entrance at the Grammy Awards. She walked out in a stunning off-the-shoulder black gown dress, and Drake's jaw dropped. The moment became a viral GIF, which certainly caught the attention of J-Lo, because over the next couple of years, Drake was spotted, popping up at a number of Lopez's All I Have concerts in Las Vegas, Nevada. In one instance, Drake posted a photo of himself holding J-Lo's diamond-encrusted hat while she slayed it on stage. Soon after, rumors began flying that the two had secretly been together for quite some time, with some photos suggesting that they were spending a lot of their quality time together. With no warning, Drake posted a photo of himself and Jen cozying up together, seemingly confirming the relationship. But but many people were suspicious of the true nature of their relationship, including pop singer Rihanna, who unfollowed Lopez on social media following their announcement. The relationship eventually fizzled out at an unspecified amount of time later, and the two never spoke about it again. But these two getting together created such a buzz on social media that their followers grew by thousands, which was probably the real reason these two went public in the first place. Number 8. Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson. His skin was pale and his cold, and that's how Kristen seems to like him. The late 2000s were dominated by the Twilight series. Films centered around Bella, a new girl who just moved from sunny Arizona to rainy Washington State, and Edward, a handsome but mysterious teen who, spoiler alert, he's a freaking vampire. Stewart and Pattinson played the characters over the course of 5 films, and the chemistry was very apparent. So much so that they decided to move that chemistry off the screen. Over the course of the 5 films, the pair would get together and split over and over, claiming the time and time again that they simply just needed a break from each other. Now, we didn't buy this for a second, as their reunions always seemed to take place on set, filming the next movie, or just coinciding with the time of the red carpet events. It was just very clear that it was a Hollywood PR person forcing these two to continue pursuing something that may have once existed, but had most certainly been drained of its blood. Number 7. Stevo and Nicole Richie. Stevo, the stuntman, is known for doing some wild things. He's been blown up, shot out of speeding shopping carts, and he's even kicked a shark one time because it was about to bite his foot off. But the wildest thing he's ever done of all? He settled down. In 2006, himself and reality TV star Nicole Richie had been spotted spending a lot of their free time together at restaurants and parties and concerts. At the time, Richie's show The Simple Life, which was a reality show starring herself and Paris Hilton, was in its last season, and Stevo was riding the wave of success following the recent release of a sequel to a movie whose title could get us demonetized. So it makes sense that Nicole would plot a publicity stunt to draw attention to herself and to attempt to keep a hold of her show. This did not work, as the show remained cancelled, and the pair called it quits only a few months after they had gotten together. Stevo has since moved on, as is now engaged to his girlfriend, Lux Wright. Yeah, dude! Number 6. Jennifer Aniston and Vince Vaughn. The Breakup is a 2005 romantic dramedy starring Aniston and Vaughn as a couple who are stuck living together following a nasty split that leaves them fighting for custody of their apartment. This sounds like a cute movie. You know what's even cuter? The pair became a couple in real life. They were regularly seen off set having dinner and snuggling up together, sparking news of another screen couple turned true lovers. Well, in 2006, that news shifted to accuracy of film title astonishes all, as the couple mutually called it quits, agreeing that the relationship had run its course. Convenient timing, considering for months before their film premiere, the couple was creating buzz online, getting people excited to see the real-life couple acting together on the big screen. But despite the attempt, the film received poor reviews and the PR play had seemingly proved useless. Now, while this may have been a stunt, the two recount sharing a wonderful time together, with Aniston even saying that Vaughn was the defibrillator she needed after a rough divorce from Brad Pitt. I don't know why that's a good thing. That sounds very painful. 5. Theo James and Shailene Woodley. These are some names you may not be super familiar with unless you were a teen in the early 2010s. James and Woodley are the stars of the Divergent series, young adult films about a dystopian future where society is split into 5 factions, and one girl who does not fit into any one specific category. Woodley plays the leading lady, Tris Pryor, and Theo plays the leader of Dauntless, named 4, aka Tobias. In the books, Tobias and Tris meet under strange circumstances and spark an intense romantic fuse. They then spend the next 2 movies running together from the faction elites. Playing a couple on set, though, seemed to have given the pair a brilliant idea as they began appearing closer and cuddlier as time went on. Many times in interviews for the second Divergent movie, the pair can be seen making cute comments and subtly flirting with each other, but sadly their fake love was not meant to last, as with the franchise coming to an end in 2016, so did their PR stunt. The couple maintained that the relationship actually never took place, but judging by the on-screen chemistry, that actually might be true. That might be true. Number 4. Kid Rock and Pamela Anderson. The singer and the lifeguard. Sounds like a cheesy sitcom, right? Well, That was the actual combo that took place when Kid Rock and Pamela Anderson began an on-again, off-again relationship in the early 2000s. At first only dating, on and off again, the couple were then engaged after a reunion in 2003. They would call it off one more time before they tied the knot officially in 2006, only to file for a divorce soon after that. The back and forth nature of their relationship is not uncommon in the world of Hollywood, with many high-tier couples breaking up and reconciling over and over again. But what is uncommon is that the couple were airing out every single bit of dirty laundry for the public to see, and soon speculation turned to truth, as it was uncovered by a Hollywood insider that the couple's troubled history and rocky road were merely an attempt to keep themselves relevant in today's media circus. The plan didn't work, as most of you watching this right now probably don't even care about these guys at all, and some of you might not even know who either of these people are. So if that's the case, please go find some good old seasons of Baywatch and prepare to be amazed. Number 3. Emma Stone and Andrew Garfield. For those of you who may have forgotten, between the original Spider-Man trilogy starring Tobey Maguire and the newest trilogy of Spider-Man movies starring Tom Holland lived a little universe in which Andrew Garfield was Spider-Man, and Sony was his ruler. The Amazing Spider-Man franchise only pumped out 2 movies between 2012 and 2024. Garfield played Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man, in the franchise, and fan favorite Emma Stone was cast to play his leading lady, Gwen Stacy. From day one on the set, the two were inseparable, spending every second of free time they had together and developing what can only imagine must have been a strong and long-lasting bond. However, these two getting together was just a little bit sus. People fall in love on set all the time, but this couldn't have been a more perfect setup if you tried. On-screen love interests who take up a majority of the film's runtime, with their undeniable chemistry shining through scene after scene, not to mention they're together in the movie for real, like you fall in love with Gwen Stacy. Anyways, this almost feels like an extreme form of method acting, because the couple were together for the entirety of the franchise, 4 years, only to call it quits a few months after the premiere of The Amazing Spider-Man 2. They've maintained a strong friendship ever since, but we really do miss you guys. Come back, Gwen. Number 2. Carmen Electra and Dennis Rodman. This PR stunt lasted for all of 2 weeks in 1998. Carmen, who was then popular for her skills as a singer as well as a gifted dancer, met the famous basketball player Dennis Rodman at a nightclub in Los Angeles. They exchanged numbers and Rodman bombarded Electra with phone calls after phone calls until she finally agreed to hang out. Classic move, Dennis, negging. They started seeing each other regularly, with Rodman once even clearing out the Chicago Bulls training center so that the two could have some fun together, uninterrupted, and anywhere their little hearts desired. They got married like most couples around the time did, in Las Vegas, baby! The two were married on November 14th, 1998, only to file an annulment 9 days later. Rodman claims to have not been in the right headspace when he agreed to the marriage, and the two haven't spoken to each other in years. Reporters and paparazzi were very skeptical about this move, as the couple's ups and downs had taken over the media circuit for months, causing Electra to get her name out there more, which was super convenient seeing as she had just started building up her repertoire in the movie industry, starring in cult classic movies like Good Burger, as well as a recurring character on Baywatch. There's a good chance she would have made it on her own, but hey, it never hurts to publicly suffer first, right? Number 1. Kim Kardashian and Kris Humphries. Kris Humphries is a former basketball player, and Kim Kardashian is, well, Kim Kardashian. The reality star and basketball player began dating in 2010 after his New Jersey teammate Jordan Farmer introduced them in New York. Less than a year later, the couple were engaged and officially married at a beautiful summer wedding. Of course, all of this was front page on social media and news outlets, causing a massive buzz for both the couple and the reality show. But after just 72 days of marriage, Kardashian filed for a divorce, simply claiming they were not getting along at all. However, Kris has a different story. He simply wasn't following suit with the family's plans, claiming that Kim made him sign a prenuptial agreement before the wedding, granting her 100% of their earnings as a couple should they split. Kris filed his own annulment, claiming fraud and stating that the only reason she married him in the first place was for the TV ratings. And this was absolutely true, as proven with her immediate bounce back to Kanye West, as well as the couple's time on the show being some of the highest viewed episodes of season 6. While Kardashian knew the relationship wasn't going to work out, Kris didn't, and the entire thing was very real for him. So like, hey, Hollywood, chill out with the fake couples for a minute, you know?
Number 10. George Reeves, Superman, dies in supposed suicide. George Reeves, best known for portraying Superman in the 1950s TV series Adventures of Superman, tragically passed on June 16, 1959 from a gunshot. While it is widely believed to have been a suicide, some suspect that he was murdered. Many actors in Hollywood at the time did not believe the suicide story, and instead believed that he was murdered. In the book Hollywood Kryptonite, authors Sam Kashner and Nancy Schoenberger believe that Toni Mannix, the wife of Eddie Mannix, a known fixer and vice president of MGM, was involved in some way as she had been having an affair with Reeves. Eddie Mannix was rumored to have ties to the mafia, so his involvement is certainly possible. Toni had confessed to a priest that she was involved. However, her testimony is unreliable as she suffered from Alzheimer's disease, and thus it's impossible to know if her confession was legitimate. Number 9. Fatty Arbuckle. One of the first big scandals in Hollywood, Fatty Arbuckle was a celebrity during the silent film era. However, at the height of his career, he was put behind bars for the murder of Virginia Rapp. According to Rapp's companion that evening, she was found sick in the bathroom of Arbuckle's hotel and had to be taken to the hospital. Her companion believes that Arbuckle had sexually assaulted Rapp and in the process caused her bladder to rupture. An autopsy found no evidence that an assault took place, and his lawyers produced evidence showing that Rapp had a chronic bladder condition. He was charged with manslaughter as a result. While he was ultimately acquitted, the damage to his career had been done, and Arbuckle could no longer find work as an actor. Number 8. Natalie Wood's death. Let me start by saying, there are many unknowns in this case, and while there has been an alleged cover-up, nothing has ever been proven. The story goes that Natalie Wood, a woman who feared water her entire life and could not swim, went on a weekend boat trip to Catalina Island with her husband Robert Wagner and fellow actor Christopher Walken, as well as the captain of the ship, Dennis Davern. Her body was found 1 mile away from the boat. The autopsy showed that she had bruises on her body and arms and an abrasion on her left cheek. However, where they came from is unknown. Allegedly, Wood and Wagner argued that evening, which Wagner admits to in his memoir. Authorities say that it is possible that she was assaulted before she drowned. However, it is just as possible that she simply slipped. As things currently stand, the death has been ruled an accidental drowning. Some believe that a cover-up involving Robert Wagner was devised by some very high-up people, including Ronald Reagan. Whatever it was that happened, what we know to be true is that Natalie Wood, tragically, perished by drowning that night, and a great talent was lost. 7. Celebrity abortion protocols. I want to preface this by warning anyone who has had to deal with a terminated pregnancy or child loss, this is going to be hard to digest, so please proceed with caution. It's no secret that old Hollywood had an excessive degree of control over their actors and actresses, with many being unable to get married. However, given these women were seen as assets to the studio and not as people, if they were discovered to be pregnant, the studios would often force actresses to terminate the pregnancy. Studios would cover up the reason the actress had disappeared and force them back to work shortly after the termination. Yeah, pretty disgusting stuff. I don't really feel that I have the right to comment on how hard that must have been for the actresses, but my sympathies go out to anyone who has ever had to face something like that. I can't even begin to understand how horrible that must be. Number 6. Judy Garland's entire career. This poor woman. So again, it's no secret that old Hollywood was a really awful place to be, especially if you were an actress. And Judy Garland seems to have gone through more than any woman should ever have had to go through. Garland was famously overworked, and the studio put her on drugs, specifically amphetamines and barbiturates, as well as adrenaline shots and pills so that they could stay awake and work longer hours. And MGM head Louis B. Mayer forced her to sit on his lap, groped her, and complimented her as he did so. Tragically, Garland passed away at the young age of 47 after overdosing on barbiturates. Number 5. Alfred Hitchcock was a stalker. According to actress Tippi Hedren, who starred in Alfred Hitchcock's films The Birds and Marnie, famed director Alfred Hitchcock stalked, harassed, and sexually assaulted her during the time they worked together. Allegedly, Hitchcock was possessive of Hedren, and he warned the other castmates not to touch her, and that if he saw her talking to another man, he would have an unbreakable stare on his face. He even had her handwriting analyzed and had his assistants make sure she was not seeing other men. Hitchcock supposedly would have his driver pass by her home, and in one particular instance, he entered her dressing room and aggressively put his hands on her. Discussions of Hitchcock have notably left out this piece of information until recent years, when victims have come forward with allegations of his inappropriate acts. And in light of these allegations, I can't say I'll be watching his films again anytime soon. Number 4. Woody Allen child sexual abuse. Yeah, this is a big one, and not too long ago either. So, Woody Allen, for those who don't know, is an acclaimed director, but also one who is quite notorious for his inappropriate relationships, most notably marrying his ex-wife's adopted daughter. But in 1992, he was accused of sexually molesting his adopted daughter, Dylan Farrow, when she was 7 years old. While there are many claims involved in that case, what we know for certain is that Allen had already been in therapy for his behavior regarding Dylan. He refused to take a polygraph test regarding the incident, a judge found his behavior inappropriate and felt Dylan needed protection, and Dylan's allegations are corroborated by 3 other adults present during the time of the incident. So yeah, that's one more director I won't be watching. Number 3. Jimmy Savile. This one's a real disappointment. So, Jimmy Savile, famous for the UK show Jim'll Fix It, where he had children write in to have their wishes granted, a show many in the UK, including Ricky Gervais, have cited writing to, died in 2011. A year later, ITV aired a documentary that examined the claims of sexual abuse against Savile over the years, and what was found was unimaginable. The Leeds General Infirmary and Broadmoor Psychiatric Hospital found that he had sexually assaulted staff and patients between ages 5 and 75 over the decades. A report by the NSPCC and Metropolitan Police stated that 450 people made complaints against Savile, with the ages at the time of the assaults ranging from 8 to 47, including 28 children under age 10. Yeah, pretty much a textbook example for never meeting your heroes. Number 2. Loretta Young adopts her own child. So, as discussed before, the old Hollywood system tried to force women to terminate their pregnancies so they could be used as assets for as long as possible. However, when this occurred for Loretta Young, such an action was considered unthinkable for her. Loretta Young found herself pregnant with the child of Clark Gable, in a relationship that she has since described as date rape. After finishing shooting the film The Call of the Wild in 1935, Young returned from a hiatus with an adopted daughter. The truth is that the child was her own, but she covered up her parentage. Old Hollywood, we will not miss you. Let's end on a happier note, shall we? Number 1. Kylie Jenner's pregnancy. So, nothing too outlandish here. Prior to giving birth, Kylie Jenner took steps to hide her pregnancy from the media. Of course, plenty of sources leaked information, but for the most part, she was able to maintain some degree of privacy and safely gave birth to her daughter Stormy in 2018. The simple reason for the cover-up was she simply wanted to prepare privately and do this outside the public eye. And given how public a figure she normally is, you can't blame her for wanting a little bit of privacy.
In at number 10, George Raft. George Raft was a stylish leading man that took roles in a ton of gangster and mafia style movies. He always would play the tough guy, the convict, or the rough mobster, although it was his real life association with the mafia that pushed casting directors to lean in this direction. George even said that he never regarded himself as an actor. He said, "I wanted to be me." But you can't let that kind of information out to the public, it'll destroy the prestige of Hollywood, so instead they hid his mafioso background and kept casting him in roles that fit that persona. Although as much as Hollywood tried to hide it, the mob didn't care to. In fact, it was Bugsy Siegel, a known mobster with movie connections, that helped George break into Hollywood in the first place. Even while filming the 1932 Scarface movie, people like Al Capone kept showing up on set, and reportedly it was Capone teaching the director how to fire a Tommy gun while filming that really started to draw attention. In at number 9, Marilyn Monroe. I'm sure we could do an entire video just on Marilyn alone, but unfortunately we don't have the time. Her real name was Norma Mortensen, but later in life she would transform into this pop culture icon that for the most part was considered to be the standard of beauty. She was married 3 times, but after the 3rd divorce, her life began to get really rough. This is well before TMZ though was ever a thing, so any of the drama in Marilyn Monroe's life was hidden away. After the divorce, she was being brought around to Hollywood parties to entertain the executives. It was rumored that she had brief romances with people like Marlon Brando and Frank Sinatra. Oh, and let's not forget the time that she had an affair with John F. Kennedy while he was the President of the United States. And I don't want to sound like some sort of conspiracy theorist here, but Monroe was found dead in her home 3 months after that affair. Something to look into. In at number 8, Roman Polanski. March 10th, 1977, Roman Polanski conducts a photo shoot with an underage woman at Jack Nicholson's house. Then Jack's girlfriend at the time, Angelica Huston, came home to find the director's jacket along with some cameras. Moments later, Polanski and the young woman came around the corner. Roman introduced this girl to Angelica and said that they had been taking photos. And the victim, Samantha Geimer, would later testify that Roman gave her champagne and then forced her to have sex with him when she was only 13 years old. People found Polanski to be so prolific that that they were willing to turn a blind eye to his nefarious behavior just so that they could remain on his good side and, well, be in his films. However, his victim uncovered this scandal when she alerted the authorities as to what had just happened to her. Roman pleaded not guilty and then immediately fled the country. Even 26 years later, he could not accept an Oscar for his film The Pianist because there was still a warrant out for his arrest. On May 3rd, 2018, the Academy finally recognized what a creep that he was and announced that they were going to expel Polanski. In at number 7, Charlie Chaplin. Now I understand how that name may form a thought in your head that says, no, not Charlie Chaplin, what did he do? However, this scandal only slightly involves Chaplin, but regardless, he was smack dab in the middle of it. William Randolph Hearst was an evil businessman, politician, and newspaper publisher. Hearst believed that Charlie Chaplin was having an affair with his mistress Marion Davies. However, instead of just confronting Chaplin, he invited him and a number of other important film industry professionals to join him on his yacht. Amongst them was Thomas Ince. Thomas was a Hollywood producer looking for new investors to keep his studio afloat. Now what you have to understand is that during this time the newspaper was really the only way that people got their information, and William ran the newspaper. So naturally when Hollywood producer Thomas Ince was shot, the story was just buried. What actually happened was Hearst was trying to shoot his gun at Charlie Chaplin on the yacht, but missed and killed Thomas Ince instead. And the scandal was uncovered once the LA Times ran with the headline, "Movie producer shot on Hearst yacht." And now to move on to the Me Too portion of the video, and like I said earlier, some of these details may be very hard to hear. In at number 6, Jeffrey Tambor. Working as an actor for nearly 4 decades, Jeffrey Tambor's career came to a screeching halt with the start of the Me Too movement. At the time, his career was at an all-time high. He was set to star in the show Transparent and take part in the comeback of Arrested Development. Slowly but surely though, women started coming forwards and they all shared an eerily similar story of Tambor making rude sexual comments towards them. One of his accusers even said that Jeffrey had been watching her sleep, and his ex-assistant on the show Transparent eventually broke her silence and opened up about what really happened on the set of Transparent, and as a result of her claims, he was fired from the show. In at number 5, Louis C.K. For years, Louis C.K. denied any and all claims made against him that he ever acted inappropriately with women. Even when rumors began swirling on Twitter, friends like Jon Stewart were quick to come to his defense. However, once the New York Times published their article detailing the pattern of Louis' sexual misconduct, nearly all of the comedy community let the cat out of the bag. Once it was made public, everyone was coming out of the woodwork to say that they knew that he had strange sexual desires all along, but worked with him regardless.
You always find yourself back to a moment of, did I miss something? Could I have done more? Or the thing. And in this situation, I think we all could have.
Also, you didn't see in that clip, but Matt Lauer was the one who asked Jon Stewart how it felt to hear Louis admit what he had done. Now, get ready for the next person on this list. In at number 4, Matt Lauer. Matt Lauer is a former television news anchor and co-host of NBC's Today Show, as well as a contributor for Dateline NBC. His Me Too accusations shocked many fans due to his often smiley and wholesome demeanor. The exact same month that he was covering the news about Louis C.K., he too was exposed as one of the most extreme cases and explicit forms of workplace harassment. Out of all of the reporters that had been Me Too'd, Lauer was the worst. More than 10 women who worked for the network had complained about harassment by Matt, but nothing was done. As the story unfolded, his case became even more frightening to take in. Apparently, he had installed a button underneath his desk that would allow him to close the office door while seated so that he could lock his victims in the office with him, which sounds like something a supervillain would do. And in his apology statement, Lauer said, "There are no words to express my sorrow and regret for the pain I have caused others by words and actions. To the people I hurt, I am truly sorry." You're only sorry that you got caught. Nice try though. In at number 3, Kevin Spacey. Kevin for a long time was by far the most demanded actor of his generation. His library of roles was huge and his fame made the actor seem untouchable. Then Broadway actor Anthony Rapp came forward and accused Spacey of forcing himself on him when he was only 14 years old. Following that, 15 other men came forward accusing Spacey of a similar experience. His career was pretty much cancelled at that point, but Kevin found a way to make things even worse for himself. In his apology, he took a moment to come out as gay, for which the LGBTQ community denied any association. As a result of these accusations, Spacey was fired from House of Cards and was removed from the film All the Money in the World, and safe to say the only acting that he'll be doing now is probably on his YouTube page. In at number 2, Harvey Weinstein. There are not too many cover-up scandals like the case of Harvey Weinstein. The way this man rose to power was by co-founding the entertainment company Miramax with his brother Bob. After leaving Miramax, Harvey and Bob would go on to found the Weinstein Company. They were a mini major film studio that was casting some of the top names in Hollywood. However, Harvey's sexual abuse was out of control. In 2017, 6 women filed a lawsuit against Harvey, claiming that there were actions being taken to cover up the assaults and they amounted to civil racketeering. In the lawsuit, they also said that there was a coalition of companies and people that took part in what they referred to as the Weinstein sexual enterprise. After the legal process was started, over 80 other women came forward to accuse Harvey of sexual assault. Last but not least, in our number 1 spot, Bill Cosby. You had to see this one coming as our number 1 spot. I mean, come on. Rightfully so. What this man did was absolutely deplorable. Cosby was found guilty of 3 counts of drugging and assaulting Andrea Costrand in 2004, and more than 60 women have accused Cosby for years of inappropriate behavior. At 80 years old, Bill Cosby is most likely going to die in prison, which is just absolutely wild considering that for the longest time we referred to him as America's dad. His dark scandals were hidden by everyone that worked closely with him, and the women that tried to speak up were silenced. Although, thanks to the brave victims that stepped forward, Cosby's cover-up is finally over.
At number 10 is Shaq's embarrassing trip to Walmart. The NBA Hall of Famer is one of the greatest basketball players of all time and is also hilarious, by the way. Honestly, I feel like his comedy is a little underrated, not gonna lie. Even though he's retired now, he still maintains his funny personality on social media and in live interviews. During one of his interviews in 2018 while he was on The Late Late Show, he shared the story about a time that he went to Walmart and his credit card got declined. The incident happened after he was traded from Miami to Phoenix and he needed furniture for his new apartment because he didn't want to wait for his stuff to arrive from Miami. So he went to Walmart and spent $70,000, but his credit card got declined several times and he actually had to call American Express with everyone watching. $70,000 at Walmart? What are you buying? Moving on to number 9 is Madonna opens up about her sex life. Leave it up to Ellen to add a game to her show that has her celebrity guests opening up about their personal business. She added this classic party game, Never Ever Have I Ever, and has them answer with an answer card that says they have, or if they flip it, it says they have never. Madonna was paired with Justin Bieber to play, and Ellen asked them, never ever have I ever had sex with more than 2 different people in one day. Justin and Ellen both held up the I have never card, but Madonna held up the I have. Unfortunately, we didn't get any more details about who her 2-for-1 hookups were, but we did learn that she is just a little more frisky than we thought. Cruising into our number 8 spot is the time that Diddy confessed the craziest place that he had sex. Ellen DeGeneres is back at it again with a fun game to get some gossip about her guests, and one of them is called Hot Seat. Her guests sit with her in 2 hot seats and they fire off questions that they have to answer, and then they quickly hit the buzzer when they are done. Apparently her show just has no shame in asking people about their sex life, because she asked him, where is the craziest place you've had sex? But he had no shame in answering and revealed the secret that he's actually had sex at Nobu, which is one of the most famous and popular restaurants in LA. So next time you're eating at Nobu, just know that he had sex there. In spot number 7 is Kim Kardashian accidentally revealed the gender of her child. In the world of Hollywood, media outlets would fight to their death to find out a secret like this so that they could be the first to publish it. But Kim didn't give them the chance because she accidentally let it slip during an interview on Ellen. Her and her husband Kanye West revealed that they were going to have their 3rd child through a surrogate, but didn't want to reveal the gender. She screwed up though when she was telling a story about her daughter North wanting to keep all the new baby's toys in her room. She said that the day after the shower, North went up to her and said, "Mom, since baby sister's not here, I think I need all of her toys in my room and I'll play with them and make sure they're okay for baby sister." Ellen was quick to point out that she just told us it is a girl because she's having a baby sister. Oops. And number 6 is the time that Denise Richards talked about her lesbian fling. Most people are used to seeing her as Charlie Sheen's former wife and also the mother to his kids. But when she did an interview on the Howard Stern show, she revealed some spicy information about her life outside of Mr. Sheen. She admitted that she had hooked up with a female friend. She wouldn't reveal who it was, but said that she's also a well-known Hollywood star. She talked about it and said, "I just met her through friends and work and stuff. I was just curious. We were curious. She was a girly girl and she's beautiful. You would know who she is." Come on, Denise, we need more than that. Tell us who it is. I want to know. We are halfway through and we have Justin Timberlake admitted to a hookup. He was another victim of Ellen's game of Never Ever Have I Ever, and he played with the infamous boy band NSYNC. They were all asked, never ever have I ever slept with a Spice Girl. Justin was the only person to turn the card so that it said I have. The audience began cheering and of course they wanted to know which Spice Girl it was, but he refused to tell. We'll leave it up to fans to come to the conclusion though that it was Baby Spice. They started posting a video clip of an interview she did back in 2004 when she was asked if she had a one-nighter with Justin, because those were the rumors going on at the time. She responded with, "We hung out and partied a bit and he's very sweet. He spoke about this first because otherwise I would have not said a word. He's very sweet." So, she didn't really confirm nor deny. At number 4 we have J-Lo snuck a man into her house. Now you're probably wondering why she would have to sneak a man into her house, like she is an adult and she's also J-Lo, so she can basically do whatever she wants and invite people into her house at any time. But there is one thing she has to consider, and that is her kids, which is ultimately her biggest priority. During an interview one time, she was asked about her love life and if she has ever had to sneak a man into her house, and she revealed that she totally has. Fans were hoping she might spill the tea and tell us who it was, but she kept that little detail to herself and admitted that she has totally snuck a man in at night while her kids were sleeping. Alright guys, we have made it to number 3 and it's a bit more serious. Melissa Joan Hart revealed on a talk show that she did drugs during her time as Sabrina the Teenage Witch. For a long time, she was the ultimate girl next door. Audiences fell in love with her instantly and she quickly became a teen star. But back in 2013, she got candid during an interview and dished details about her wild side. She said she had drug-fueled Hollywood nights and revealed shocking affairs with some of her co-stars at the time. She said, "I experimented with weed, ecstasy, and mushrooms for about a year and a half. One of her most shocking stories was from 1999 where she said she took ecstasy one night at the Playboy Mansion, made out with a girl on the limo ride home, and then showed up to her Maxim photo shoot still high from the night before." Honestly, I would have never suspected this from Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Kinda ruining my childhood a little bit, kinda weird to think about, but hey. I don't judge. Taking over the number 2 spot is Leslie Jones, used to work for Scientology. The SNL star was on the Ellen DeGeneres show when she was asked what job she worked before she was famous. Surely, she could have said any of her other jobs, like McDonald's or Walmart or something. I'm sure we all had a part-time job. But instead, she was honest and admitted that she used to be a telemarketer for Scientology. She said, "I lived in Glendale. I needed to pay the rent and it was a very easy interview. I just acted crazy. They kinda still don't know I'm not a Scientologist." She cracked a joke to the camera and apologized to other Scientologists out there for revealing things. But she seemed to have no problem revealing the secret, despite all the controversy around the religion. In our number 1 spot is Holly Madison revealing dark secrets about Hugh Hefner. Many people would love to know all the juicy details of what really went on in the Playboy Mansion when Hugh Hefner was still with us. But thanks to his former girlfriend Holly Madison, we do. After being his number 1 girlfriend in the house and dating him for 6 years, she decided to write a tell-all book called Down the Rabbit Hole back in 2015. The book exposed their age difference in the relationship and just everything that came along with it. She then went on to do some talk shows where she talked about personal experiences in their sex life, saying they used to engage in group sex in his bedroom, and also admitted to the wild parties that they had at the house, claiming that some of the girls would actually be drugged at the party and then taken advantage of. Some of her claims were pretty serious, and her former playmate said that she was lying and actually did not defend her statements. So basically, it's if you believe her or not.